It's not just hair, it's a message, a silent signal from your soul that the world never taught you how to read. You've been taught that hair color is about beauty, about preference, about trends, that it's something to change on a whim, to lighten, to darken, to cover up. But what if that's only the surface of something much deeper? What if your hair color, natural or chosen, isn't just about aesthetics but about archetype, about the language your unconscious speaks through without ever saying a word? Carl Jung believed that the psyche doesn't speak in plain language. It speaks in symbols, through dreams, through art, through recurring patterns and imagery, and more than anything, through the stories we unconsciously live out every day. In that view, nothing about your external appearance is just random, not your features, not your expressions, and especially not your hair. Because to Jung, the body was never just a body. It was a vessel of symbolic truths, a canvas painted by the deeper forces of the unconscious. That includes the color of your hair. Now, pause for a second. Imagine that your hair color is more than just genetic, that it's actually an outer reflection of the archetype your psyche is closest to. That maybe, just maybe, you've always carried the energy of a particular symbol, and your appearance is how the world first glimpses it. Think about it. Some people walk into a room and feel like a mystery before they even speak. Others feel like light. Some seem magnetic, seductive, a little dangerous, and others feel grounded, calming, like a force of stability. You felt it, we all have, but we rarely ask why. According to Jung, archetypes are not inventions, they are inherited psychic blueprints, universal patterns that live in all of us. The lover, the rebel, the sage, the warrior. They show up in stories, in relationships, and in our deepest dreams. But they also show up in ways we don't even notice, like in the way someone walks, the clothes they choose, the tone in their voice, and, yes, in the color of their hair. Let's begin with the foundation. Why does this matter? Because if you've ever felt like you don't fully understand who you are, if you've ever changed your hair and felt like a different version of yourself was emerging, if you've ever looked at a stranger and instinctively felt something about them before a word was spoken, that wasn't your imagination. That was your unconscious recognizing the language of symbolism. You see, the collective unconscious is like a vast library inside you. It holds every myth, every story, every archetype that humanity has ever lived out. And you, whether you realize it or not, are one of those stories. You've been cast in a role that your psyche chose long before you had words for it. Your hair color may just be one of the earliest clues. Let's start with black hair. Deep, dark, absorbing, the absence of light, at least on the surface, but symbolically, it's the presence of depth. Black hair is often linked to the archetype of the philosopher, the guardian, or the shadow explorer. It's the energy of the one who sees through illusions, the one who doesn't fear the dark but understands that it is where truth often hides. If you were born with black hair or feel drawn to it, you may carry a natural alignment with the unconscious itself. You might notice more than you wish you did. You might sense things others overlook. And while the world rushes toward brightness and noise, you're the one who listens in silence, who reads between the lines, who understands the cost of pretending everything is fine. Black hair often signals a soul that came here to do deep work, not just for themselves but for others. You're likely the one people go to in a crisis, the one who holds space, who stays calm when things fall apart. But here's the catch. That depth can become a prison if you don't integrate it. You might get so comfortable in introspection that you forget how to come up for air. You might suppress joy, thinking seriousness is strength, or carry the burdens of others because you confuse empathy with responsibility. Jung would say this is where shadow work begins, because your strength lies in your ability to face darkness, not become it, to understand others without absorbing their pain. If you have black hair, the world often projects mystery onto you. People might assume you're intense, private, even intimidating, and sometimes you are. But it's not because you're trying to be. It's because you carry the energy of the unseen. You reflect what others are afraid to look at in themselves, and not everyone can handle that. But here's the truth. Your presence is powerful precisely because it cannot be controlled. You are the symbol of the unconscious brought to life, and your journey, more than anything, is to learn how to hold that power without drowning in it. Your depth is not a flaw, it's a function. You didn't come here to live on the surface. You came here to dive deep and to teach others how to do the same. Now, ask yourself this. When was the last time you felt like your presence alone was too much for someone? Did they say you were intense, too serious? Did you find yourself shrinking, editing, making yourself smaller just so others would feel more comfortable? That's not humility, that's self-abandonment. And your archetype is here to remind you, you are not meant to be digestible. You are meant to be a threshold, the place people come to confront something ancient, something sacred, something real. So don't hide your darkness. Don't dilute your presence just to make others feel less exposed. You are not here to be easy. You are here to be true. And every strand of black in your hair is a whisper from the unconscious. Do not look away. Now let's shift toward the other extreme. Blonde hair, the archetype of the muse, the child, the bringer of light. Blonde hair has long been associated with innocence, radiance, and youth. But this isn't just cultural myth. There's something archetypally profound about light-colored hair. It symbolizes exposure, visibility, and receptivity. If black hair is the hidden mystery, blonde hair is the luminous invitation. It doesn't hide, it reveals. It catches the eye, draws in energy, evokes desire, projection, and fascination. If you were born with blonde hair, or choose to wear it, your soul may be aligned with the archetype of the eternal child, the dreamer, the creative spark. People with blonde hair often carry an energy that feels open, unguarded, emotionally transparent. Even if you've suffered, you somehow still radiate something untouchable, something hopeful, something alive. And people feel that. They're drawn to it, they want to be near it, not necessarily because they see you, but because they feel the symbolic light you represent. But here's where it gets complicated. That visibility comes at a cost. Because the same light that attracts also blinds. People will project their fantasies onto you. They will idealize you, romanticize you, place you on pedestals you never asked to be on. They won't always hear your truth because they're too busy listening to the version of you that lives in their mind. And if you're not careful, you'll start to believe it too. You'll start to mistake being loved for being seen, being chosen for being known. And you'll build a personality that serves others' dreams instead of your own soul. This is the shadow of the muse, the burden of being adored. Jung called it the inflation of the persona, when you start to identify more with the mask you wear than the self you actually are. If you're blonde, you may find yourself constantly navigating the tension between being noticed and being misunderstood. You might attract attention, praise, affection, but still feel unseen, unknown, untouched at your core. That's not vanity. That's archetypal pain. Because the light is beautiful, but it's also fragile. And let's be honest, people want you to stay light, to stay soft, cheerful, radiant. They don't want your anger. They don't want your depth. They don't want the moments when you fall apart, because those moments disrupt the fantasy. And if you've been carrying this archetype long enough, you've probably felt that pressure to stay golden, to smile through exhaustion, to shine through sadness, to never let the light dim, even when your soul is screaming in the dark. But you don't have to perform anymore. You're allowed to be whole. You're allowed to rage, to grieve, to go silent. And when you do, you're not destroying your light. You're grounding it, making it real. Because the true muse doesn't just inspire others. She awakens herself. She turns inward. She discovers that the light she offers is not a show. It's a power, a living energy that must be protected, not exploited. So, If you have blonde hair or feel aligned with this energy, ask yourself this: have you been choosing light because it's yours or because it's expected? Have you lost yourself in the performance of being easy to love? If so, it's time to come home to your truth. You are not here to be decoration. You are not here to keep others comfortable. You are here to embody radiance, not obedience. And that starts by refusing to be a symbol for anyone else's Reclaim your light. Not the performative kind, the real kind, the kind that says, I see me now, and that's enough. Now enter the fire. Red hair, the rebel, the seducer, the mystic. This archetype doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait to be invited. Red hair arrives with intensity, sometimes revered, sometimes feared, but never ignored. It is the symbol of transformation, of passion, of disruption. If you were born with red hair or dye it red, you're embodying an energy that refuses to be tamed. There is something ancient, almost mythic, about the red-haired soul. You carry the frequency of the sacred outsider, the one who doesn't fit and doesn't want to. Red hair has always evoked strong responses. In myths, redheads were witches, warriors, healers, seductresses. That's not coincidence, it's archetype. Red is the color of blood and fire, of danger and desire, of life force and rage. And when it shows up in your appearance, it signals a psyche aligned with untamed energy. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's about truth, about saying what others are afraid to say, about burning down what no longer serves, and then walking barefoot through the ashes, reborn. But here's the painful part. The world isn't always kind to this energy. You may have been mocked, sexualized, demonized, misunderstood. People want your fire, but they don't want to get burned. They want the mystique, but not the mess. So they try to box you in, to label you, to control you, and when that fails, they push you away. That hurts, deeply. And sometimes it makes you question whether the fire inside you is a gift or a curse. But here's what Jung would say: the fire is sacred. It is your initiation. It is your alchemical tool. Red hair symbolizes the part of the psyche that cannot be civilized, and we need that. In a world obsessed with control, your wildness is medicine. Your soul didn't come here to play it safe. It came here to awaken others, to disrupt patterns, to challenge illusions. That's not an accident. That's a calling. The shadow, of course, is rage without direction, passion without grounding. The red hammer archetype must learn not just how to burn, but when. Not just how to disrupt, but how to transform. You are not chaos. You are catalytic, and your journey is to own your power without letting it consume you. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. And if they say you're too intense, too emotional, too honest, it's because your truth makes their illusions tremble. So ask yourself now, have you dimmed your fire just to be accepted? Have you cooled your passion to make others feel safe? Have you exiled parts of yourself just to survive? If so, it's time to bring them back, because the part of you they tried to extinguish is the part of you that will set your life ablaze in the most beautiful, necessary way. Now let's talk about something quieter, something earthbound but no less powerful: brown hair. The archetype of the earth, the mother, the anchor. If red hair is fire and black hair is the night sky, brown hair is soil, grounded, fertile, stable. The presence you don't always notice right away, but once you do, you realize it's been holding the whole structure together. Brunette energy carries a quiet wisdom. It doesn't seek attention, it holds attention. It doesn't chase, it contains. If you have brown hair or are drawn to that color, your soul may be tuned to the frequency of nurturing, constancy, and resilience. You're often the one people turn to when they need a calm voice, a steady hand, a reminder that everything won't fall apart. You might not be the loudest person in the room, but your presence makes others feel safe. But here's the thing most people miss about this archetype. Just because it's steady doesn't mean it's simple. Just because it's calm doesn't mean it's not carrying a storm underneath. The shadow of the earth archetype is invisibility. You become the container for everyone else's mess, the healer, the peacemaker, the one who absorbs the chaos so others don't have to. And after a while you start to wonder, does anyone even see me, or do they only see what I can do for them? Carl Jung warned that unintegrated archetypes become prisons. If you've been over-identifying with stability, you might be neglecting your own desire for freedom, expression, unpredictability. You might feel safe in your role, but secretly suffocated by it, and you might carry resentment you never speak aloud because being the strong one doesn't leave much room for vulnerability. But let me tell you something hard and honest. Strength without softness isn't real strength, and if you never allow yourself to be held, to be messy, to fall apart a little, you'll burn out in the most silent way possible. If you resonate with brunette energy, your gift is endurance. You know how to stay, how to rebuild, how to nourish what others would abandon. That's a superpower. But don't let that power be exploited. You are not a tool for others' healing. You are a soul with your own needs, your own desires, your own hunger for meaning. You deserve to be held as much as you hold, to be seen as much as you see, to be chosen. Not for how well you function, but for who you are when you're no longer trying to hold it all together. So pause and ask yourself, where have I mistaken reliability for love? Where have I accepted being needed instead of being wanted? Where have I stayed strong out of habit, not choice? You are allowed to rest, to shake the earth, to uproot old identities that no longer serve your growth. The archetype of Earth is not just about structure, it's about regeneration, fertility, rebirth. You are not just the ground others stand on, you are the soil from which something new must rise. And now we reach the archetype most people overlook: grey hair, silver, ash, the elder, the sage, the one who has walked through fire and frost and come out the other side, not untouched, but awake. If you were born with premature grey, if you've chosen to go silver, or if you're aging into it now, understand this. The world may call it aging, but Jung would call it revelation. Grey hair doesn't symbolize decline, it symbolizes transcendence. It is the outer mark of someone whose psyche is shifting from doing to being, from striving to witnessing, from identity to essence. The archetype of the sage doesn't seek to control the world, it seeks to understand it. If you carry this energy, your soul has likely lived many lives. You've known loss, change, the unraveling of everything you thought would last. And yet here you are, still standing, still seeing, still searching. But this archetype isn't always easy to wear. In a culture obsessed with youth, the grey-hailed soul is often overlooked, dismissed, underestimated. You might feel yourself fading into the background, not because your light has dimmed, but because people can't yet perceive the kind of light you carry. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not trying to prove anything. It's the light of presence, of patience, of someone who no longer chases applause because they've already survived their own silence. Jung believed that the second half of life is when the real work begins. That's when you are called not to achieve, but to integrate, to become who you always were beneath the roles, the ambitions, the masks. Grey hair is not the ending, it's the beginning of that deeper path. The one that no longer needs approval, only truth. And yet, the shadow of this archetype is detachment, withdrawal, cynicism disguised as wisdom. You may feel so misunderstood by the world that you start to isolate, to stop offering your insight because no one seems ready to hear it. But here's the thing, the sage isn't meant to shout. They're meant to seed, to drop truths like pebbles into still water and let the ripples do the work. If you carry grey energy, your greatest gift is your perspective, your calm, your clarity in chaos. But don't let that gift harden into silence. You've earned your voice. Use it. Even if they don't understand you now, they will later. Because true wisdom echoes long after the words are spoken. So, ask yourself this. Have I been hiding my age, my insight, my story, because the world glorifies youth? Have I forgotten that I am not here to compete with the young, but to guide them? Have I buried my gifts under a veil of humility because no one taught me how to wear authority with grace? This is your reminder. You are not past your prime. You are in your power, and the silver in your hair isn't a sign of loss, it's a crown of survival. Every strand carries a story. Every line in your face is a line in your map. You are not less, you are the whole journey. Now let's explore one of the most fascinating psychological moves of all, the decision to change your hair color, to dye it, to transform it, to choose an appearance that wasn't given to you at birth. This act, often dismissed as style or trend, carries far more psychic weight than most people realize, because in Jungian terms, when you alter your outer self, you're making a statement about the inner one. You're not just changing how you look, you're communicating sometimes to the world, sometimes to yourself, sometimes to the unconscious. When you choose to become a red, to bleach your hair blonde, to go jet black or silver gray, you're not just making a cosmetic decision. You're activating a symbol. You're aligning your outer identity with an inner archetype that may have been dormant, ignored, or repressed. And in many cases, you're signaling a psychic shift, a moment of individuation, a refusal to remain in the old role, a step toward reclaiming a part of yourself that had been buried beneath cultural expectation, family history, or survival-based self-mediting. Let's break this down. Suppose you've spent most of your life being perceived as stable, practical, reserved, aligned with that earth archetype of the brunette, but suddenly you find yourself craving blonde, craving lightness. You bleach your hair, and the world reacts. They say you've changed, that something's different about you, and they're right. But it's not just the hair, it's the emergence of the muse, the awakening of your inner light, your desire to be seen, to express, to soften. It's your unconscious asking you to embody a different kind of energy. And you listened. Or maybe you've lived with light features your whole life. You've been sweet, agreeable, pleasant. You've been safe. But one day you look in the mirror and realize you're done with being seen that way. You dye your hair black. Suddenly your energy feels deeper, more contained, more mysterious. You begin to withdraw from conversations that drain you. You start speaking less, but with more weight. People say you've become intense, but the truth is, you've stopped leaking your energy. You've entered the archetype of the shadow explorer. And that change wasn't random, it was a psychic necessity. Jung believed that the self is always striving toward wholeness. That means not just playing one role forever, but integrating all the archetypes over time. So when you change your hair color, even temporarily, you might be unconsciously trying to call in something your psyche needs: power, visibility, rebellion, peace, wisdom, attraction, protection. And that's not shallow, that's sacred. Because your body is not a billboard, it's an instrument, and the way you dress it, color it, adorn it, is a form of soul expression. So let's drop the shame around wanting to look different, around experimenting, around needing change. If you've ever felt the urge to go blonde and didn't know why, if you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like your hair no longer matched the person you're becoming, if you've ever changed your appearance after heartbreak, transformation, grief, or awakening, you were listening to your psyche. You were letting the unconscious speak through color, through image, through transformation. And yes, the world will judge you for it. Some will call it attention-seeking, others will say it's vanity, but those people don't understand symbolism. They don't understand that for some souls, identity is not fixed. It's fluid, evolving, archetypal. And if you're someone who's lived your life trying to stay consistent, trying to be the same person all the time just to make others comfortable, you've probably paid a high price for that stability. Emotional suffocation, creative stagnation, a life that feels technically fine but spiritually starved. You don't need anyone's permission to evolve, to change, to reinvent. Jung said that individuation, the process of becoming your full self, requires integrating the unconscious. That includes your shadows, your desires, your unexplored symbols. And sometimes the simplest way to begin that journey is through the mirror, through claiming an image that feels more like you than the one the world expects. Now pause. Think back to a time when you changed your hair. What was happening in your life? What were you letting go of? What were you stepping into? Did you feel more powerful, more visible, more like yourself? That was never just aesthetic. That was energetic. And the archetype you were channeling through that change was a real force, guiding you toward a version of yourself you were ready to meet. This is why symbolic transformation matters, because when you understand the psychological meaning behind the image you project, you stop living reactively. You start choosing consciously, and you no longer look in the mirror asking, "Do I look good?" Instead, you ask, "Does this reflect who I am becoming?" And that's the deepest truth. You are becoming, always. Hair grows, changes, falls, returns. It is the perfect metaphor for the psyche, constantly in motion, constantly shifting between archetypes, symbols, roles. When you understand that, you stop resisting the changes. You stop fearing transformation, and you start aligning with it. You start using your appearance not to impress others, but to integrate yourself. Let's return to Jung one last time. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens by paying attention to your dreams, your reactions, your longings, and yes, to your symbols, because your soul is always speaking, sometimes in the deepest insights and sometimes in the color of your hair." So, here we are, full circle, from black to blonde, red to brunette, grey to every shade in between. Your hair color is more than appearance. It's your psyche in pigment, your unconscious in strands, your archetype visible before you even speak a word. But let's step beyond the individual meanings now, because there's something even deeper at play here, a truth that sits underneath every archetype, every transformation, every mirror you've ever looked into. You are not just one thing. You are not fixed, you are not static, you are a living symbol in motion. You evolve, you integrate, you outgrow, and every time you shift, even if it's just changing your hair color, you're acting out something sacred. You're answering the call of the self. Carl Jung taught that we each carry within us a blueprint, a psychic pattern buried deep in the unconscious called the self. It's not the ego, it's not the mask you wear, it's not the roles you play to survive. The self is who you were before the world told you who to be. It's your wholeness, your essence. And the journey of individuation is the process of returning to it, of remembering what you were born to embody, of gathering all your pieces, light and shadow, beauty and rage, logic and intuition, and calling them home. Your hair color, your changes, your visual evolution, they're not superficial. They're evidence. Evidence that your psyche is trying to become whole, that you are shedding identities that no longer fit, that you are experimenting with your own symbolism. And that is not vanity. That is individuation in action. So take a breath. Let go of the shame you've carried about how you look. Let go of the voices that told you it was shallow to care about your appearance. Let go of the pressure to stay consistent when your soul is screaming for change. You are not meant to be the same version of yourself forever. You are meant to evolve, to surprise even yourself, to wear different skins until you remember which one was yours to begin with. Now ask yourself, honestly, without judgment, what color do I feel called to wear right now? What energy have I denied in myself? What archetype have I suppressed because I thought it was too much, too dangerous, too dramatic? What if that color I keep dreaming of is actually my soul's invitation to become someone more whole? And what about your natural color? Have you spent your whole life trying to escape it? What if it holds a message too? What if the very thing you've been running from was your original symbolic blueprint, the energy you were meant to explore, embody, or even transcend? You don't have to answer all of this right now, but the next time you look in the mirror, don't just see style, see story. Don't just see pigment, see prophecy. Ask, who am I becoming? And listen closely, because the unconscious is always whispering, and sometimes it speaks through hair. So whether you are raven-haired and mysterious, blonde and radiant, fiery red and unapologetically wild, deep brunette and quietly powerful, or silver-hailed and spiritually awake, know this: your appearance is not an accident. It's a doorway, a reflection, a clue. And if you've ever felt like you were being misjudged based on how you look, if you've ever felt trapped in an image that no longer reflects your truth, if you've ever longed to become someone new, not just inside but outside too, then this is your permission. Not from society, not from trends, from your own soul. The most radical act of self-realization is to become visibly who you already are within. So dye it. Don't dye it. Let it grow. Cut it off. Go natural. Go bold. Do whatever reflects your current becoming. And know that in doing so, you are not escaping your identity, you are excavating it. You are peeling away what isn't yours. You are becoming, symbolically, whole. Jung believed we live mythological lives, that we walk through this world not as blank slates but as living stories, archetypes in motion. And the people who understand that, who learn to read the symbols instead of judging them, those are the ones who become truly powerful. So now the question is yours. Who have you been pretending to be? And who are you ready to become? Look in the mirror again, not for flaws, not for approval, but for symbols, for truth, for the next evolution of you. Because the hair you wear might just be your soul speaking, and now you know how to listen.